I am a huge fan of 24 Hours in Police Custody. In fact, it's one of my favourite police documentary series. And while their two-parters or their specials are not as good as the actual series, where we have each individual episode dealing with a different case or different people who are in custody, I do think that the Black Widow two-parter that's just aired is completely worth watching. If you like to study people and you like to see what makes them tick or how they can manipulate people and get away with things, because people get away with crimes all the time, and it's sometimes baffling to believe that they could have ever gotten away with it. Black Widow is really gripping, and what's quite peculiar about this, and I'm going to try and not spoil anything, but I feel like I have to explain a little bit about her background, the Black Widow being Victoria Breeden, and kind of why this documentary really works when on paper maybe it wouldn't. And the reason it wouldn't, or might not, is because she's in custody not for murder, but for soliciting to commit murder. So on paper, there's no violent crime. There is one crime that's discussed that is violent, but it's not the main topic. But the crime itself is not a violent crime. There are obviously no clips of CCTV of the crime being committed or any, gory footage that a lot of documentaries present. There is an audio recording though, which is very damning evidence, and it's really quite creepy to listen to. So to make a very complicated story as short as possible, Victoria Breeden detests her ex-husband, and she keeps speaking to all of these different men in her life, some partners, somebody she met randomly in Germany, to see if they'll be willing to kill her ex-husband in exchange for money. And it's clear that these are not just jokey conversations. Everybody who's got a rough relationship with somebody from their past would occasionally fantasize about being able to bump them off. But this is serious, and she really means harm. And to be perfectly honest, I'm surprised, just based on her character, that she hasn't turned up at his front door, got hold of a gun and shot him herself, because that's kind of the impression I would get from her. But for whatever reason, she hasn't. And this documentary, they have 24 hours, of course, to try and convict her of soliciting to murder. And I have to say, the detectives on her case are amazing. Unfortunately, I can't remember their names, which is exceptionally annoying, and I can't find their names online. But there's a male and a female in charge of her case, and if I can get their names, I will put the names in the description. But basically, they are fantastic. You can see the frustration as Victoria continues to manipulate the situation and control everything that's going on, even down to what she wants to eat. And they go out of their way to give her what she wants, not because they want to, but because, the less ammunition she has for being ill-treated or not being given what she needs or claims to need, the better it will look for the case against her. And I don't think I've ever laughed out loud at 24 Hours before, but there was one line about polio, and I won't say it, you can watch it and find it, but there was one line about polio. I actually kind of splutter laughed because it was just so out of the blue and so on point, so accurate. The comment really hit the nail on the head. And I just thought, yep, that's this kind of person. This is what they're dealing with. And she seems innocent. She seems vulnerable. Obviously, if you'd maybe just met her for the first time, you might think that. And that's one of the problems I have with juries. That's an argument for a different video, but I just don't think members of the public with no knowledge of how to read a person should be convicting people. But that's irrelevant for this. But she does come across as being quite, what's the word that I can say on YouTube without getting banned? She likes to victimize herself. She's the one in pain. She's the one struggling. And they have a lot of interviews with people she's spoken to. There's a lot of police body cam footage, interview footage. The interview at the end, there are various interviews with her throughout, but the final one is really quite gripping and really intense because they don't hold back with questioning her. And to be honest, I've only ever seen this intensity of questioning in films. This is obviously real footage, and normally true crime documentaries and true crime series will... Well, I've never seen anybody being interviewed so intensely, and I absolutely loved it, and I thought it was fantastic, and I really hoped for the outcome I wanted. Obviously, whether or not that happened, I'm not going to tell you, because she does manipulate the situation right until the end. Whether or not what happens is another question. I'm not entirely sure why she's called the Black Widow. Somebody can maybe clear that up for me. But Victoria Breeden is a horrible, manipulative person. I think she has mental health problems. Not saying that makes it all right or that it's an excuse, but I think there are things that can be pinpointed to perhaps explain, though not excuse. I love 24 Hours in Police Custody. This 2-part special is amazing. It is so thrilling. If you like police procedurals or 24 Hours or anything like that, you need to watch it. I promise you will not be disappointed.